There is a chameleon in our political midst, one who understands how to play the game in everything to everyone, which includes changing opinions on a whim and backing up on comments, with the speed of a vehicle where the driver has the gearbox in reverse and the pedal on the floor. But will any of Donald Trump's fanatics care? America and the world needs to care a lot more about the relationship between Saudi Arabia and America. And it's not based only on oil. We'll answer those questions about what the current split between Barack Obama and the Saudis means moving forward. The world has yet sent another red alert warning about a disease that spreads like wildfire and will impact billions. Did authorities once again fail to hit the action button too slowly on Zika, and why? And as the world mourns the loss of yet another brilliant musician and performer, the music speaks for itself. Allow us to hear the words of Prince Rogers Nilsson, the man behind the tunes. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Friday, April 22nd, 2016.
Now, my wife is constantly saying, darling, be more presidential. I just don't know that I want to do it quite yet. At some point, I'm going to be so presidential that you people will be so bored, and I'll come back as a presidential person.
Another day that ends in the letter Y. And that means another moment where we have to question who exactly is Donald Trump, and why should we allow him to lead the greatest country on earth? Let's put aside for the moment the lack of depth on policy. All politicians do manage to gloss over what they'll do and how they'll do it, although few have ever been so thin on actual procedures and plans. Let's focus here on what his own campaign spokesman has handed us and dive in there. That when Trump's on stage, it's an image that's for a purpose. In other words, he's a chameleon who says what he says to fit the audience, to curry favor from the crowd and the masses. And he's been playing a part to this moment, not my words, the words of Paul Mannefort. Words that have opponents and even supporters wondering who he is and what they're voting for. Welcome back to veteran columnist at the National Review and senior fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center, Mona Charen, joined by Wayne Allyn Root, who is undoubtedly a man who stands for Donald Trump wherever and whenever he speaks. It is good to have you both on the show. All right, let's get right to it. Here is Paul Mannefort to the RNC talking about Trump's private persona. It's what's important for you to understand, that he gets it, and that the part he's been playing is evolving. When he's sitting in a room, he's talking business. He's talking politics. In a private room, it's a different persona. When he's out on the stage, when he's talking about the kinds of things he's talking about on the stump, he's projecting an image that's for that purpose. Mona, I'm going to bring in you first on this one because, quite frankly, to a lot of people that I've spoken with on the right and on the left, they're wondering, is this a chameleon? Is this an actor? Is this a president? Who is he? And why should we vote for him?
Well, that's an excellent question. Look, what Manafort is basically saying there is that Donald Trump is synthetic, that he's insincere, that he says one thing in public and thinks something else in private, and that he says other things in private than he says in public. But you know what? We didn't need Paul Mannefort to tell us that. Anybody who's been watching this thing unfold, this ongoing disaster, can tell that Donald Trump changes his positions so promiscuously, even when he is in public. Maybe it's hard to keep track of all the lies, and that's why he keeps doubling back and reversing himself. But he's done it so many times, that's what makes our heads spin, is how often he changes his views, like on abortion, like on immigration, where even in a debate, supposedly immigration was his big thing. Well, even in a debate, he changed his views and said, well, he was for high-skilled immigrants, or he was going to build a wall but make a big, beautiful door. Nothing that this man says can be taken seriously because he doesn't take himself seriously.
Well, let me get to that because, Wayne, I've had communications today, internet, email, whatever, with friends who are on the left, staunch Democrats, and friends who are on the right, staunch Republicans, some of them who have said that they will vote for Donald Trump. And I've had them come back to me and say, this disturbs me. Who is this man right now? I want to believe that he is what he says he is, but suddenly I've got the guy who's in charge of his campaign out there saying that this is all an act.
You know, I don't think he said it's all an act. He said what I've been arguing for many years now. I wrote a book called The Murder of the Middle Class. I think it's right behind me, in 2004. And I said the only way Republicans are going to get elected is to stop complaining about Obama and find candidates who who in many ways mimic Obama. You can't be too detailed on what your policy plans are. The American public is so dumbed down, they wouldn't understand it if you told them. If they
did you just go, wait a minute,
Wayne.
Did you just say that the American public is too dumb to understand positions on issues?
The American public doesn't want to get too down in the weeds. They don't, and if they do, you turn them off, they get bored, or you tell them something they don't want to hear, which is that 1 out of 5 families doesn't have a single person working, record numbers of people on welfare, on food stamps, on disability. The country is on the lam, folks.
I get that, but quite frankly, it sounds like you just called the American voters dumb. Seriously.
Donald entertains them, and we needed an entertainer the same way Reagan was an entertainer, and they called him stupid the same way.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to shut that down right there. Ronald Reagan was a former governor. He was a politician. He was not just an entertainer, Wayne. So when you talk about that, you cannot put Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan in the same breath. Mona, I come to you for a retort on this.
I love Ronald Reagan. Okay?
This is what the Trump people constantly say. If you say Trump is a liar and a fraud and he's been sued and he has the highest unpopularity ratings of anybody in history, they say, so did Reagan, so did Reagan. This is all complete nonsense. Look, Reagan not only was a successful 2-term governor of our nation's largest state, he had spent years as a syndicated columnist, as a commentator, as a lecturer. He had read deeply in conservative philosophy. He had very detailed proposals about what he planned to do if he were elected, and he was part of an intellectual movement, the conservative movement, that was intellectually coherent. Donald Trump is and has none of those traits, and it's offensive to see this attempt to link him to Reagan. It's not only offensive, it's absurd.
Okay, now I have something else I want to talk about on a different bill that Donald Trump talked about last night, but Wayne, I want to give you a chance to go ahead and respond.
Well, first of all, the ratings of Donald Trump are exactly the same as the ratings of Ronald Reagan at this exact same time in 1980. Exact same ratings.
That is false. Look it up on Red State. That is Gallup has pushed back on that and said that Ann Coulter poll that she was supposedly citing, there's no such poll. Look it up. It's on redstate.com.
Okay. First of all, when you talked, I was very respectful to you, and we're on the same team. Whether you know it or not, I'm a lifelong conservative. My parents were two of the founders of the New York State Conservative Party, and I love Ted Cruz's views. I think he'd be a disaster as a candidate. I think we needed someone who's an entertainer, a celebrity, and yes, a reality TV star, because you got to appeal to people who don't cross over normally and vote Republican. So we're on the same team. We got to be nice about this. But I happen to like Donald Trump, happen to think he's a great candidate. What you said about Reagan is fair. He was a governor. I get it. But he wasn't a businessman ever. And Donald Trump's made $10 billion. Those are two different things. And I believe what America needs now with a dying economy more than ever.
I got to stop you there. I got to stop you there because, okay, but I'm also going to point out that being the governor of a state is actually pretty good when it comes down to being in business. I got to tell you, because that's somebody who deals in business on an everyday basis. Now, so we're going to agree to disagree on that one. Okay, well, I understand it, but we're going to agree to disagree on that one. Now, let's get to issues here for a moment. And Wayne, I'm going to call on you first here. Last night, Donald Trump clarified his stance on the North Carolina bathroom bill. Now, here's what he said.
I love North Carolina, and they have a law, and it's a law that, unfortunately is causing them some problems, and I fully understand if they want to go through, but they are losing business, and they are having a lot of people come out against. I think that local communities and states should make the decision, and I feel very strongly about that. The federal government should not be involved.
All right, now, here's the thing, Wayne. He came out and said one thing, then there was criticism, then he comes back the next day on the NBC Today show today, and he basically changes his stance. There are people saying that Donald Trump makes a statement, waits for the reaction, then comes back and backs up and makes it fit to the people then who come in and criticize him. I think there's been a lot of issues that he has done exactly that. Should he not just make a statement, get out there, say what he means, and stick to it?
Well, I'll tell you what, the number one thing that annoys me more than anything else, Ed, and I think the mistake Donald Trump makes on this is we shouldn't buy into the media's choice of what the big issues of the day are. The big issue in the day is the economy. I'm a businessman, and I'm dying, and every businessman friend I've got is dying, and yet we're making it abortion, transgender,
but
bathrooms.
Wait a minute, Wayne. Is this not an issue, though, that is now the national media and people, the country is talking about this? So shouldn't any president of any stripe have a take on this, come out, say what he or she means, and stick by it? That's the question.
I think there's two answers on this question.
No, there's really one answer. Go ahead.
No, let me tell you the two that I heard Donald give that are both mine.
Okay.
Number one, it's a states' rights issue. The federal government has no right to get involved in any way, shape, or form. I heard Donald just say that. And the second one is I personally, with two daughters, including an 8-year-old, don't want a man to ever be, or someone with a penis.
Okay, that's not the point. I get it. That's not the point. But just answer me this. 20 seconds, Wayne. I'm trying to be fair to you. 20 seconds. Do you not agree that a president should have a stance and stick to it and not back up?
Well, I have stances that I never change on taxes, on the economy, on limited government, but on issues like abortion, a lot of social issues, and transgender bathrooms. To be honest, I'm just like Reagan, like Trump. I'm a businessman who kind of has a few different views. It's not cut and dried. It's not black and white.
I think you had a Freudian slip in there, actually. Okay, I'll give you that. Mona, I got 45 seconds. Floor is yours.
Well, look, Wayne said that he believes in Trump because he's concerned about the economy. Boy, this I cannot understand. I mean, leaving aside all of the character problems, the fact that this is a man who encourages political violence, that this is someone who makes fun of a handicapped person, is very misogynistic in his comments about women. Leave all that aside. Let's say all you do care about is somebody who's going to revive the economy. I would like to hear the Trump people explain to me how it is that by imposing a 45% tariff, which would raise the prices of the poorest people in America, that is going to revive
I give you that,
economy.
Mona. I give you that, but I only got 10 seconds left. I'm going to hold you to the same thing I held Wayne for. Would you not say, though, that a president needs to make one statement, stick by it, and not back up when they are criticized?
Yeah, look, he has been a lifelong Democrat, and he's demonstrating that. Those are his instincts, and it peaks out every now and then, and he rushes to try to fix it. But the man, he is part of the New York liberal establishment.
Okay. I'm out of time, unfortunately. We're going to have you both back again to do this, I swear to you. Mona Charen, Wayne Allyn Root, thanks so much for joining us. The Hardline continues.